Nikki here with the Canton Museum of Art presenting Museum to Go Takeout. Now, the first week that we did Museum to Go Takeout, you might remember that we used the exhibition Creative Roots and we made pictures of our favorite places using a collaging technique which made mosaics. Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what place means to us, and we're going to think about our own place in America and what we wish for America and what it means to be an American. And I think that this is especially important right now when we're kind of thinking about all of the places we would like to go, or as things are opening back up, we're kind of maybe thinking about what our place is in the greater world around us. So I think that if you could keep in mind what your ideal America would look like as we go through this project, that would be awesome. This week, we're going to be discussing the exhibition that is currently on view at the Canton Museum of Art called A Portrait of Americana, and it is all work from the permanent collection that deals with a bunch of different things that we would maybe consider very American. So we have a painting of a hot dog, and you could maybe think of going to a baseball game or something like that. We have a ceramic baseball glove, and you'll see some other work from Americana, and I will talk about why it is such an important exhibition, but also I'll talk a little bit about the pieces themselves and how they fit into the theme of Americana. So we're going to first do that, and then second, we are going to make a project, and I'll be using polymer clay, but you can make your own clay if you'd like to make salt dough, or you can use Play-Doh for this, or you can use air dry clay if you have some at home. It can really be anything that you can kind of sculpt with. You could even make like a really heavy paper mache paste and use that. So we are going to jump into looking at some stuff from Americana, and then we are going to go forward into our project. So let's get started. The term Americana, when related to art or culture, typically is used to talk about the way that things are specifically American. And in a lot of the images coming up, you will see that this could also be referring to certain things like dance moves or sports that are typically associated with America. In the upcoming images, you're going to see a lot of iconic images from American history. You can see as the screen is going that the Statue of Liberty is here, and I'm going to talk about that piece in a moment. But we also have some other pieces that I want to show you that are very, very closely associated with America. While you're looking at this artwork, try to think about if these things fit into your American experience, and if so, how they do. This silkscreen print, created in 1982 by Roy Lichtenstein, is titled I Love Liberty. The Statue of Liberty was a joint effort between France and the United States intended to commemorate the lasting friendship between the people of the two nations. Today, the Statue of Liberty remains an enduring symbol of freedom and democracy, as well as one of the world's most recognizable landmarks. Lichtenstein produced I Love Liberty in conjunction with the 1982 I Love Liberty celebration, a star-studded broadcast on national television celebrating the flag and saluting American ideals and values. I Love Liberty combines Lichtenstein's comic book style with an Americana icon. Did you know that Lady Liberty wears a size 879 shoe? What does the Statue of Liberty represent to you and your American experience? This lithograph print, created in 1972 by Thomas Hart Benton, is titled Forward Pass. Benton believed that the American people needed to be reminded of his strengths, and his artwork depicted nostalgic, rural American life in the Midwest. He said, "I have wanted more than anything else to make pictures, the imagery of which could carry unmistakably American meanings for Americans and for as many of them as possible." The roots of American football stem from two sports, soccer and rugby. On November 6, 1869, Rutgers and Princeton played the first ever college soccer football game. The game used modified London Football Association rules. During the next 7 years, rugby gained favor with the major Eastern schools over soccer, and modern football began to develop. The American Professional Football Association, which was later renamed the National Football League, was founded in downtown Canton, Ohio on September 17, 1920. Jim Thorpe was named the first president of the league. Renowned as the world's greatest athlete, Jim Thorpe played his first season of professional football with the Canton Bulldogs, starting in 1915. The Canton Bulldogs were an early powerhouse of football and the first two-time champions of the NFL in 1922 and 1923. This oil painting, created in 1975 by Gary T. Irby, is titled 76 Special. Gary Irby was born in New Jersey, rather close to New York, and especially Coney Island. Therefore, it's no surprise that this trompe-l'oeil painting features a hot dog, a staple of American food. The origin of the hot dog is controversial. Frankfurt, Germany claims they originated the Frankfurter, aka hot dog. But Vienna also claims they invented their version first, the Wienerwurst. No matter its origins, it is agreed upon that the first introduction of the hot dog to America was in the 1860s through German immigrants selling them in push carts in New York City. Nathan Handwerker, now known as creator of Nathan's Famous, was responsible for popularizing hot dogs in 1915. The original restaurant on Coney Island still exists today, where they hold annual hot dog eating contests. This hot dog has a dollar bill attached to it, and it's called 76 Special because hot dogs at hot dog stands increased in price to $1 in the year 1976. Artist Gary Irby was surprised that hot dogs were becoming so expensive. Ironically, hot dogs cost much more now. How much would you pay for a hot dog now? Why do you think that eating hot dogs is considered an American experience? This lithograph print, created in 1936 by Miguel Covarrubias, is entitled The Lindy Hop. Miguel Covarrubias was well known internationally as a caricature artist, illustrator, and writer. In 1923, he went to New York City on a government scholarship, and his caricatures appeared in magazines such as Vanity Fair and The New Yorker. Lindy Hop, also known as the jitterbug, is a type of swing dance that fuses jazz, tap, breakaway, and the Charleston. The Lindy Hop was born in and important to the African American communities in Harlem, New York, and entered the mainstream in the 1930s. Covarrubias took great interest in the Harlem Renaissance and sought to convey the vibrant culture of it. Frankie Manning is considered one of the founding fathers of the Lindy Hop. Although he didn't come up with the name, Frankie Manning was known as the ambassador of the Lindy Hop because he helped to make the dance popular and spread it into the mainstream. He taught, performed, and choreographed versions of the dance, introducing people to the fashionable moves all over America.
For today's project, like I said, I'm going to be using polymer clay, and you can use whatever kind of dough or clay you would like. Polymer clay needs to be warmed up a little bit before it's pliable or before you can work well with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of warm this up for a little bit. Now, as I'm warming this up, I want to talk a little bit about the type of project we're doing today. The project we're doing today is we are going to be making a reliquary container. And a reliquary container is a container used to hold something very special and sacred. Some reliquary containers, especially in ancient times, were used to hold relics, and a lot of the time this was for religious purposes. So what would happen is after people passed away, like saints or priests or people important in a religion, parts of their body, maybe a little part of their leg bone or something, would be taken and put in a really special container, and then it would be kept in the place of worship in their town. And while we're definitely not taking any sort of body parts, unless maybe you have an old tooth that's important to you, we are going to take some things that are important to us and use this container as a special space to put them. Now, for me, something I would consider a relic that I have is this ring that I always wear, and it was my great-grandmother's. And I am thinking, while I'm doing this, about the things that are really important to me about America. And my great-grandma, to me, kind of represents what a lot of people would traditionally think of as the American dream. My great-grandma was a teacher. She taught kindergarten, and she had a beautiful garden with roses in it, and all of these things that we kind of think of as American, this really big lawn. And I would go over to her house when I was a small child, and I would run up and down this big hill in her front yard, and I would do a lot of things that are kind of typical of American childhood. And her house was a really big symbol of American childhood for me. I would play there with my cousins, and we would have huge holidays there, and I remember I would always play with my cousins under their dining room table because they had this really cool old dining room table that was huge. And there are things like that from growing up in America that are very uniquely American and uniquely our own experiences. This container is going to be used to hold some experiences or items that are very close to our hearts. So for me, this little reliquary box can hold my ring that I always wear. Or you can always take slips of paper and write about important moments. Maybe you don't have any physical objects that could, keep those moments safe for you. But I like the idea of doing this because we're connecting to our own experience of what it kind of means to be an American. What does it mean for you to be an American? In my little reliquary box, I'm also going to put a couple of pieces of paper in, and in the exhibition, A Portrait of Americana, we have a board where people can write down some things that are kind of wishes for them, wishes for a better America. And you can write down what you think your hopes and dreams for America would be. And I can write those down and also put them in this reliquary box. What I want this reliquary box to be for you is a place that holds something special and sacred that makes you think about your place in the world, but also maybe that holds those things that we're, concerned about saying, maybe, or those things that make us worried. And when you put all of these worries with beautiful things, like your happiest experiences of being in your country, or what being home means to you, or whatever. If you put these kind of things that are very serious with these other kind of lighthearted and beautiful moments, I think it kind of helps us to look at the big picture of what our life is. For me, growing up in the Midwest, I grew up here in Ohio, was really kind of an amazing experience. There's so much beautiful nature. There are forests and rivers and lakes and all kinds of these really, really beautiful places. And I had a really big wooded area behind my house when I was a child, and I used to spend all day in those woods. And for me, part of the American experience is exploring my world. And just knowing that there are so many beautiful, beautiful places. This is a huge country. Maybe you've traveled somewhere, and that can be something special that you put in your reliquary box. Maybe that can be a special moment that you hold dear and that you think about when you're thinking about your uniquely American, but also uniquely you experience. Maybe you've gone to a concert, or you've seen a movie at a drive-in movie theater, or something like that. And that's a pretty iconic American thing. We think about, like, I don't know, the 1950s and drive-in movie theaters and dancing hot dogs on the movie screen. And these are all kind of uniquely American things. You could put your ticket stub for a movie in here. So really, I want to encourage you to think about those things that we consider uniquely American, but also I want you to think about how you fit into that. Now, you can see that I have put my polymer clay together, and I have just kind of made it into a bunch of overlapping pieces of polymer clay. What I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to use my pen, and I'm going to kind of roll these together a little bit. Now, sometimes it'll break, and that's okay. I'm going to put it back together. So I'm going to marble mine together now that I've done that, and this creates a really cool technique. I chose these colors because I really like this color combination. I didn't really choose them for any other reason. You could choose colors that you might feel represent something important. Like maybe you have a favorite shirt that you have worn to every play you've ever been in. Say plays are a major part of your American experience, and you've worn this shirt under every costume, and it's important to you. And maybe it's a blue shirt. You could choose blue clay, or you could choose to paint your clay blue if you make a salt dough or something that you can paint. For me, I really just like a lot of bright colors, which you may have caught on to from some of my other videos. Now, I've marbled this together, and I have this little bowl here that I actually use to mix paint, and I'm just going to press it down on there to kind of flatten this out. Then I'm going to flatten it by hand. So I have it pretty flat, and I'm going to start tearing little pieces, and I'm going to make these into really long kind of like ropes that you would call coils. And I'm going to start by going from the center, and if you're using polymer clay and it breaks a little bit, that's okay. You can just put it back together. And I'm just going to coil this. You always start from the middle, because if you start from the ends, it's going to get really thin on the ends and really thick in the middle. And then it's going to be really hard to roll evenly. So I'm just rolling this out, and I really love how this marble looks on here. I think it looks really cool. Okay. Now reliquaries, because they hold something very small, are usually very small. This little reliquary box that I'm going to make is also going to be small. I'm coiling this coil around itself like a little snake to make a base for my reliquary box. Then I'm just going to smush it together here. Okay, so now I have a base. I'm going to roll out some more coils, and then I'll be back to show you how I put them together to make this box. Okay, so I have all of my coils rolled out here, and each coil is going to be a different layer. Now, if you're doing this with Play-Doh, you can just go ahead and start coiling, and you can even put a little bit of water between each layer and they'll stick together. Same thing if you're working with regular clay, you're going to want to score the surface, which is where you take a fork or any kind of tool and you just kind of go here. I'll show you on here. Like this. And then again in another way, like cross-hatching when you're drawing. And that helps the water get into the clay, and it kind of acts like a little glue. It turns into all of that clay that's kind of balled up after doing that turns into a little bit of a slip, which is like clay and water mixed together, and acts as a bonding agent for your clay. If you're using polymer clay, you're going to need a polymer glue. So I have this Sculpey Bake and Bond glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by putting a little glue just right around my base here. And I'm going to start with this bright green coil because it's different than all the other ones, and I think that it will look pretty cool. I'm just laying it right on top of the glue, and then I will take and just pull that little excess off, and there is one coil of polymer clay. Now, I have a lot of glue on here, so I'm just kind of going to take my finger and put some glue on the top of this coil here from the excess that I have. If you hate getting sticky fingers, I totally understand. You can just use some more glue, and then you can use a wet paper towel to wipe off all the excess. But I like to reuse. I'm putting a little more glue on here. You don't have to be perfect with it because this glue dries clear and bakes clear as well. And I'm going to do this with every layer until I get to the height that I want. So I'm going to keep coiling up, and then as soon as it's as tall as I want, I'm going to come back and make a lid for my reliquary. So I will be back to show you that in a few. Okay, so I have my coil pot as tall as I would like it, and I'm going to put it up. I'm hoping you can see. It has a lot of glue on it. That's okay. It's all going to bake clear. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a lid. And the way I'm going to do that is very simple. I'm just going to pinch out this piece of green clay. And first, I'm going to lay it on top to make sure that it is the right size. I have some leftover coils, and I'm going to take one of my leftover coils and I'm just going to make a rim, and this will be the inside. So I'm going to put down some of my glue. Now, reliquary containers typically have pretty ornate lids, and that means that they are heavily decorated. This is because when you put a lid over something sacred, a sacred object, it kind of closes it in and seals it in, and that lid is kind of the barrier between that sacred thing and the outside world. I'm doing 2 layers on here because I want it to fit pretty snug inside of my container. Okay. So I just cut that so that it's a little bit more round because I want a round lid. Now I'm going to flip this over, and this lid is very delicate, so I'm going to just be careful. I'm going to press a little bit around the outside. I kind of like how organic this looks. But what I'm going to do, and why I chose green, is I'm going to make a lily pad. And my handle is going to be a flower. Why lily pads are unique to my American experience is because I very frequently visit the Cuyahoga Valley National Park and other parks around here. And one of my favorite things to do is to sit by the edge of the water and see all of the wildlife. I love to bird watch, and I love to see all kinds of little critters going in and out of the water, salamanders under logs, and I love to watch frogs either at the edge of the pond or lake or on lily pads, and I just think that it's really calming and special, and it's a really unique part of my own American experience. We have so many parks in America and so many places to view such beautiful nature. In fact, one of my biggest goals is to visit as many national parks as I possibly can. And one of my wishes for America is that we continue funding habitat restoration for endangered species, and that we keep making more national parks. So I'm just making my flower as a lid now, and what I'm doing to make my flower is I am taking these little pieces of polymer clay. I'm making them about this big, about the size of maybe my fingertip here. And then I'm just folding them. I'm pinching at the top to make kind of a triangular sort of thing. And then I'm molding them at the bottom into kind of a little boat. And then that kind of turns into a little flower petal. And I have made kind of a larger part on top of these 2 petals where I can just keep pressing in. So I can press every petal individually into this larger part here. And as I'm working, I am folding these kind of into each other to make a flower that is kind of raised up. And my lid is going to be able to be picked up from the underside of these flowers. if you could share with me in the comments below or in the comments on our Facebook on this video what thing you chose for the top of your vessel. I would love to hear about it. I'm really interested to see what types of different experiences we all have as Americans, because everybody's experience is so drastically different here in this country. So I have my little flower here, and now I'm just bending the petals outward so that you can see the inside of my flower. Bending each petal out. I'm going to use this green again, and I'm going to put a boatload of glue in here. And I'm going to make the inside of a water lily, which has all of these tiny little specks of pollen. I'm going to make them out of this green polymer clay. Once I'm done making this, I am going to bake it, and then I'm going to come back to you after this is baked and after I have a couple of little notes about my wishes for America and also my ring inside this reliquary box, and we're going to check it out. Alright. Now, as always, remember to hashtag your own art that you make during this with hashtag museum to go and hashtag CMA from home. It really helps us because we can see how many people are making these projects, and it helps you because you can see how your project maybe is similar or different to somebody else's project. You can become part of an amazing community of people online who are making these projects at home. Okay. So while I am cleaning up and while my little reliquary container is in the oven, I wanted to tell you about some really special and exciting opportunities to learn that we have coming up at the Canton Museum of Art. So not only do we have these lessons and our Art for Health and Healing and our curator's couch on the website, but we have some very special and exciting things happening in the way of classes at the Canton Museum of Art. So first off, I want to tell you that we have some really exciting virtual classes that are coming up, and we have classes for kids and we have classes for adults. We have all kinds of different classes that are coming up. You can go to the website and click the Learn tab, and you can go through and learn all about summer camps and classes that we have to offer. We also have a class that I am teaching virtually, and it's going to be on June 23rd. I'm going to be talking about a wonderful artist named Taylor Robinault, and we're going to be going over her sculptures. And then we're going to be talking about how animals and flowers and a bunch of other things like colors can symbolize different ideas, and they can all have different meanings. So that's going to be a really exciting workshop, and I hope that you can attend. You can also check out our Facebook. Make sure you always check out our Facebook. You can go to our events that we have on Facebook, and you can find all of these virtual classes that we're holding in the events, and click the link to go ahead and sign up for those classes. Like I also said, we have summer camps, and those summer camps are going to be held at the Canton Museum of Art. We will be holding them in accordance with World Health Organization guidelines as well as guidelines from the CDC and the state. So everything will be sure to be very safe, and we have plenty of great things in place to make sure that everyone stays safe and healthy, but most of all to make sure that everyone learns some really amazing and exciting new things about art. So definitely check out our summer camps and check out those classes on the Learn tab. So I have my finished reliquary container here. You can see I have my lid with my little lily pad. And I have a container that is just big enough to hold a couple of wishes for my ideal America and also some really special things to me that remind me of my American experience. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out and read them, but as I said before, I was going to put my ring in my reliquary box, and I did. Also, I have a meteorite in here that I got on a hike in one of my very favorite hiking spots. So that's something that kind of reminds me of my unique American experience as somebody who's a pretty avid hiker. And now I'm going to read to you my little wishes. So this one kind of goes with some other things that I had talked about in the video. I wish America had a better transportation system so people could travel more easily. I think I'm going to read this one next. I wish for a less divided America and more love and understanding from and to each person. That's something that you really can't see with your eyes or feel with your hands or anything like that, but it's something that you can think of and wish for. And then this one is one that I bet you also wish, and that is I wish that ice cream was free for everyone in America. So there we are. Those are my wishes for my most ideal America. I have many other wishes, and I'm sure that you do too, but those are just a couple of things that I would like to remember. The ice cream one is really silly, but ice cream is a big part of my American experience. I used to go with my family to get ice cream every week while I was growing up, and I also, we talked about ice cream in the first video. I love ice cream, and I also go to get ice cream now a lot. I hope that you can make a special reliquary box for your most important wishes for America, but also things that remind you of the good parts of being an American and what, you love about your own life here in America. So with that said, I can end our video today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you would like to keep up with us, like I said before, please add us on Facebook and go ahead and check out all of those cool classes that I had talked about. Also, go ahead and add us on Instagram, like us on YouTube, subscribe to us. We would love to hear your feedback on Instagram at Canton Museum and on YouTube and Facebook at Canton Museum of Art. Again, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you had a wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you next wonderful Wednesday. Bye.